Hey everybody, Jess Intuitive Angel Healer here with your Grounded. Thank you so much for joining our podcast today and welcome to another episode of Dancing in the Toxic Shadows, Finding Empowerment and Hope Through the Toxicity. This is a podcast that features an empowered soul swim through the toxic waters of life and how they have found the courage, strength, and blind faith used to obtain the life that they truly want to live, and how they encourage others to take that same leap of faith, no matter if they can only see the first two steps or not. Today we have a very special guest, Christina Miranda from Albuquerque, New Mexico. Hey, Christina.
Hello, hello. How are you?
I am doing well. Christina is my college friend and fellow medical assistant. She is a
Yeah.
registered medical assistant and the outreach program coordinator for Carrie Tingley Hospital. So welcome so much for being here with us today, Christina.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited because if any of you listeners listen to my Empowered Woman series that I created, Christina was actually my very first guest on there. So I thought it was very fitting to put her on my very last episode because believe it or not, we are up to number 10 in this first series of the Dancing in the Toxic Shadows, which is so exciting because I really never thought it would come out. I did that one with you, and the first one was so crazy. I had all my mess ups, and then what did I do? I turned all my mess ups into 14 whole
Yeah,
videos in my series. So that's what I'm
that's
do. I'm a
amazing.
problem solver.
I love it. It's amazing.
Your episode is escaping the dark side of the toxic shadows and embracing the force. And you're going to tell us all about how that applies to you and
Yeah.
how you took over the toxic shadows and became the force. So go ahead and tell us all about it, Christina.
Okay. So I guess I'll start at the beginning. So he's my ex-husband. His name is Eddie. I met Eddie when we were working at Subway together. I was the general manager of the store and he was one of my employees. Looking back, that probably was really bad. That was red flag number one. And it was one of those things that it kind of started off with a bang. We were both very attracted to each other, and physical attraction can make fireworks spark. And we, I think, from the first day that we ever even kissed, we basically moved in together.
It's so hard when you do that and you think, yay, I found my guy, and then that's what makes it so hard to overcome a toxic relationship is that you're
Right.
like, son of a, I did it again.
Right.
But you don't find that out because I was reading a book the other day that says about falling in love, okay? And I found when we fall in love, guess what we can also do? Fall right back out of it, because true love you don't fall in. True love
Right.
is different.
You
It
work up
starts
to it.
with a connection of hearts and then it blossoms, but falling in
Right.
love is our ego saying, ooh, that guy's cute. Oh,
Right.
and then we get this fantasy going, and then 6 months later, or usually it's about 4 years later, is we don't get the message until about
Right.
that time, and then
Right.
we're like, holy crap, what did we just do?
Yeah. No, and looking back, they say hindsight is 2020, and truly that is the case. It all felt so right in the moment. We were having fun and we had this great sexual chemistry, and we had pretty good just chemistry, and things seemed fun, but I started having red flags right away. I mean, the company that he kept was not company that I would keep ever. We found ourselves at parties and people were doing things in bathrooms that I would never even dream of. You put those blinders on, right? That was a lot of it, is I thought that I could fix him. looking at pictures of him, he's like a cholo, right? He's like you pick any ghetto dude covered in tats off the streets, and
Well,
he
you
looks
are
like
in
a gangster.
Albuquerque, my friend.
Well, I know. I thought, here's this guy that he didn't have a very good upbringing, and he's not really in the greatest of places right now, but I can fix him. I feel like, and that's part of my, empathy and my compassion. I tend to do that. And so I kind of like maybe took him under my wing. I moved him into my house, and like I said, it all started off with a bang, and then shortly, like very shortly after we got together, I think it was probably 4 or 5 months after getting together, I ended up I had been renting a house from my grandparents, and I ended up having them sell the house, and him and I bought property out in Moriarty, and we moved his trailer that he owned onto that property. What started like the beginning of the end, if you will. We had a little girl. I had her really early. She was really sick. She lived for 20 days and then passed away. And so then, thank you. And so after that, I felt like the only thing that could kind of fix that void was to get pregnant again, right?
Yeah.
And so against everybody's odds and wishes, I got pregnant right away with Jared, who is now 13. At that point, here we had 2 kids together. We'd gone through this totally traumatic event, and I really don't think he was ever the same after that, which is normal. And my grandmother actually had made a comment, something along the lines, when I got pregnant with Jared, she was like, well, I can't believe you're getting ready to have a second kid with this guy. You guys need to get married. And so I knew as soon as she said that, in the back of my mind, I'm like, there's no way I'm marrying this dude. I had talked to him about it, and I said, this is what my grandma said. And we kind of were like, well, maybe we should get married, and up until the day of my wedding, like I knew it was not right. I knew it didn't feel right.
You get pressure from your family and
Exactly.
everybody around you. I understand that because I have lived in that before, I think my whole life until probably
Yeah.
the past couple years.
Yeah. It is. It's really hard. And again, trying to fix him, there were so many good qualities about him. There really were. And I tried so hard to let those good qualities overshadow the bad qualities. He was really smart and he was good at his job, but like he never really had a consistent job. He was really into smoking weed, which wasn't necessarily that big of a deal up until he ended up getting on house arrest. And I can't remember exactly what it was for. I think it was for like a warrant or something. When he got placed on house arrest, living out in Moriarty, the phone company didn't go to our house. And so the only way he could do house arrest was if we found a house that he could do it at, which ended up being my dad's house. At the time, it was pretty good. He was working at a construction company, so working full time. I was on bed rest, so I couldn't leave my house. My dad was there kind of like as a buffer, if you will. And it wasn't until Jared was, I think, like 3 or 4 months old that he got off of the house arrest. Talking back about this, like him being on house arrest, yeah, I mean, it's just, these are all red flags,
Don't worry, because every woman listening to you right now in a toxic relationship is like, damn, girl, keep on talking because you're telling the story.
I know. And yeah, like, within the first month he had gotten arrested, and I was like, don't worry, I'll wait for you, Oh my God, what was I thinking?
I think there's something in Albuquerque, by the way, growing up there, because I didn't just kind of live there. I lived there since I was 9 till I was 18, and then I came back and my family's still out there. It's very dense mindset out there, and people teach you these things about loyalty, and I find it funny because I left Albuquerque when I was 18. I had to get out of there because it's a toxic place to live.
It really is.
If you've lived there long enough, it's fun to come visit. There's great things to visit out there, but living there, we call it the land of entrapment because it's like you get here, you get all excited, and then you can't ever move out, or you get in the mindset that you're stuck and you can't move out. But when I
It's a
finally,
good
I
one.
knew when I was 18 that I just looked around at my surroundings. My brother had gotten put in prison at that time, and my mom was off in her own little world, and I felt alone, and I looked at the people all around me, and I was like, well, and my whole life, this is why I've overcame all that, because my whole life, instead of participating in it, I did participate a little bit, but then I started going, what am I doing? And who the hell are all these toxic people around me? Because holy
Yeah,
shit, y'all are draining me. And I had a magazine crew come offer me a job, knocked on my door, said, you want a job? Come on in. And I got packed up my apartment, and in 3 days literally left out of there and said, toodaloo, I'm done.
yeah,
And it took me I went on the road for like 6 years, and traveling to all the different places, I started noticing not only did I have a toxic mindset from all the jerks that I've been with, and my family stuff, but then I started looking at, oh my God, like that is such a terrible mindset that
yep,
Albuquerque has. It literally took me about a long time. I'm still working on things that have been
yeah,
programmed to me from there, because, and I make that a point because a lot of people don't understand that you have to understand it's your environment sometimes that
yep.
you're in. And until you
You're
wake up
around it.
and notice, yeah, that
Yep,
this isn't where I should be at,
yep,
that's when you get that aha moment and you move away from it. But
yep.
we think it's normal until somebody points out, hey, that's not the way it should be.
Yeah, exactly. And that, touching on that, after Jared was born, we were living in our trailer, and we had people at our house all the time, like nonstop. It was like a nonstop party. So he gets off of house arrest, he starts smoking weed again, he starts drinking again. I guess that lifestyle is fine, but I kept telling him, like, we have a kid now. We can't live like this anymore. We had people living with us in,
Yeah.
this tiny like 3-bedroom trailer, like, and I finally told him one day, like, you can be a homie to all your friends, or you can be a husband and a dad, but it can't really be both ways. I touched on this in my empowerment, or my women empowerment interview, but really made it all stick one day. I had just started going to school, and he started giving me shit for going to school. It was like one of those things, like, well, why are you going to school? Well, we have a kid now, I'm trying to better myself, I'm trying to better our life. And then things would start getting thrown in my face. Well, now you think you're better than me. And I was like, it's not like that at all. I'm just trying to help. I was making $6.50 an hour at that point, like working in a daycare. Those were like really when it started happening, when he started like not supporting.
I was told the same thing, how because my ex, he paid for his ex-wife to go to college, and she went to be a therapist, threw it all out the window, cheated on him, and it was all downhill. So apparently I'm going to be a whore and do all that
Right.
too. And
You're gonna do all over again.
you don't even know how my knees still hurt from how much I had to beg to be able to go to school. And I want to make that a point, because I know there's a lot of women out there. You
Yep.
are not selfish if you want to expand your mind. Your
Yep.
narcissist is just afraid you're going to be smarter than him, and he's going to have
Exactly.
to get smarter, because it's all about a game. And you are
It is.
clearly with a narcissist, and we don't understand who we're with until you're out of it and you look back and you're like, there's no fixing a narcissist, because a narcissist isn't just a cool name that came
No.
in urban history. It is actually a personality disorder, and that's why we
Yeah.
think we can fix them. You
Yep.
can't fix a disease. They won't. If they're not in control, good luck.
Yeah. No, and that is so true. And I'll touch on it a little bit later too, but that was really like the first big red flag. Ladies, if you, or even men, if you are with somebody that is not willing to support what you're trying to do, support your dreams, back you 100%, you are with the wrong person. Like, you should not, like Jess was saying, you should not have to beg to live your life, especially if it involves going to school or furthering your education or getting a promotion at a job. If it threatens them, it's for a reason, and they don't want that. They, like Jess said, they feel like you're gonna you're going to go up and you're going to leave them behind, which does happen. It does happen quite often. And especially in these relationships where the other person is not willing to grow with you. It's easy for one person to grow and leave the other person behind. It's also easy for two people to grow together. So that's a very telling sign. If you're trying to do something that grows you as a person and they're not willing to support it, you're probably in the wrong place.
Exactly.
It was our very first class at NAU. It was called Strategies for Success. And this class was very much the mentality that if you're not where you want to be, picture your life where you want it to be. And once you really start thinking about things, you will manifest what you think. If you are constantly negative, you're going to have a negative outcome. You're going to be a negative person. If you have the positive thinking and you're always happy and you're always trying to think of what you want next, chances are you're probably going to do it. Your mind is a very, very powerful tool. And it was that class. I went home one night and I was standing outside on the back porch smoking a cigarette, and I looked around like you did, and I'm like, who are these people? What is my life? Like, this is not what I had ever envisioned for myself, let alone for my kid. I really started to think about what I wanted, and my life changed within the matter of like a month. Like, I found out he was cheating on me. We had this huge falling out. I moved back to Albuquerque, and things happened the way they were supposed to for a reason. But I will reiterate it again. If you're in a relationship that you cannot grow as a person, you're in the wrong place.
Exactly, because communication is supposed to, a conversation takes two people. I mean, you
Yep.
can talk to yourself, but when you're in a relationship, that's two people.
Yep.
And so why is all of my amount of thinking of how I can fix you, Christina? Like, so we're friends and I'm thinking I'm just going to fix her, fix her, fix her.
Right.
Well, if you don't want my fixing and you're not
That's not
open
gonna
to
happen.
that, guess what? It's going to keep hitting a brick wall and
Yep.
sliding down it. So
I'm married now to a wonderful man, and when we first started dating, I was already in school. After about a couple of semesters of us being together, he's like, you know what? I want to join school. And so he went back to school after like 25 years of being out of college. And he kept telling me, you inspire me to be a better person. You make me want to help myself. You make me want to grow. So he finished his degree, and the two of us have grown together. It wasn't that he was threatened by me. There was a point in time that I was making way more money than he was, like, and he's never been threatened by that kind of thing. So it's a huge difference when you've got somebody in your corner, and he's told me from day one, if you want to keep going to school, go for it. If you want to get that promotion at work, go for it. So it is possible to be at the bottom in a relationship and come back up and have somebody 100% in your corner.
exactly. And it's all about, to get there, to help you get there if you're at the bottom. Because, first thing is let go of the shame and the guilt and
Ugh.
know that you deserve to be loved, because that's the biggest thing. Because this goes back not to, I was just talking about this on my other podcast because I had a guest come on talk about narcissist parents. When I look at it, that is why funny that I married a narcissist and was married to him for 10 years, because my dad passed away when I was 16, and looking back, all of my stuff stems back to when I was a kid, and
Yeah.
how at what level my parents were at in their journey. Unfortunately, they only taught me what they were taught. So they did
Right.
a good job, but there's some things that maybe they could have not, done a little bit better.
Yep.
And I found that I started taking on those habits of my parents. I started slowly noticing, oh my God, I'm telling my daughter you're going to eat it or else. And I'm like, no, 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 we're not
Yeah.
doing this. And I started to take a moment, and that's when I really released it is, hey, you know what? A lot of this is you, but don't take all the credit for all the trauma
Right.
in your life, because
That's learned behavior. We come by it, like you said, from our parents, our grandparents. I mean, it's not something that we're born with.
generational teachings is what gets us. Now, some of those are good and some of those are bad, but now that I'm almost 40, I'm learning which ones I want to keep and honor and which
Yep.
ones are complete BS and are going to stop right here. And that's what a
Yep.
lot of America just needs to figure out. It's nothing wrong with carrying on traditions, but what
Right.
traditions do we keep carrying on? Should we keep carrying on the tradition of I'm not lovable and please treat me like crap? No, we need to start teaching our daughters that, and that's what you've done by, even though you have a son, you taught your son, hey, first of all, you taught him how to not do what not to do to
Yep.
a woman. And
Yep.
that's going to be
Right.
amazing for his love life. And for two, all those things that you didn't like that your parents did or your grandparents or the mindset, now you have control to be like, I don't care. It's not coming on this side. It's not
Yep.
moving past me. And that's
Yep.
kind of an awesome part about being an adult and a
Yeah.
parent
And a
sometimes
parent.
is that nobody can take that away from you. You
Yep.
can always teach your kids what you want to teach them.
Break the cycle.
Yeah. So if I don't want that to be in my life, it's not. And I love it because my daughter's going to have a much happier, fulfilled life now that I've got my shit together.
Yep. Yep. I know what you mean.
I love your story because so many women, and you know, until I've taken this journey, really taken it, I always knew something wasn't right because I've always been in terrible relationships and going, what did I do to get mistreated so terribly today? And you stick around because you think you're helping and you're an empath, but really I've learned not only do we're like a battery to narcissists. Empaths, they love us because we supercharge them to no end. So that of course they want to keep us around.
Yep.
And also we end up being more aggressive and more angrier when we're with a narcissist. So I can usually people can tell who I'm around in my love life because they're like, wow, you're a little angry today. And I noticed that like with my ex, I could notice I was just kind of abrupt and not really friendly as much as I used to be.
Yeah. And you know what? I've noticed I attract that in friendships too. Like for whatever reason, I have had some toxic friendships too because they're narcissistic and I'm an empath, and like you said, we're like freaking batteries or something. And oh man, yeah.
Yeah, it's just something I've learned. When you start raising your vibration of people, raising your vibration of energy in yourself. So like when you start looking at the glass half full, I noticed a lot of it was too is that I was attracting, just like you said, your thoughts attract people. Guess what? They attract your friends too. So if you have a crappy attitude about life, all your friends are going to be there because like attracts like. So just some questions about this because I can talk about this subject all day long. Not because I'm complaining about it, but it's more about I love to educate people because I've talked to way too many clients in the past few years, talked to way too many podcast guests, and it's just like, when is the insanity going to end? That this and it's the only reason why it keeps happening is because you have to have awareness that something's wrong first. And so that's why I come out here, because when you're with a narcissist, people don't understand. They really control your life. And I was a pretty strong
aspect.
I was a very, very strong person, and mine worked on me to make me Looney Tunes in my head. Yes, they make you Looney Tunes up there, so then you doubt yourself. And that's how he got to me, because once you start I never doubted myself. When my dad died when I was 16, I told everyone, I will never let a man ever tell me to shut up ever again. Because something snapped in me when he died. It was like, that was the last man I was scared of. And the last man that I would ever take because he was an alcoholic and he was lit all day long. My dad was one of a kind. And when he went away, that really put something in me that I will never take this. And it's so funny that I was like, rah, you will never. And so for years I was like, you're not going to do anything. And then every time I got in a relationship was the only time it happened. Every time I was single, I could be like, yeah, you're not going to talk to me that way. But when I was in a relationship,
Yep.
go right back to where I was.
Yep.
So I like to talk about this and let people know it's not all you, and take baby steps when you start this, but also get a source of motivation to help you get going. What was your source of motivation that you used on your journey? And do you have any personal recommendations for our listening audience?
My motivation at the time was really school, and school was motivated by Jared. So I had a little baby that I knew I had to make a better life for. And I knew that if I wasn't going to be with Eddie anymore, I was doing it on my own. So I had to do
And that's
what I
scary.
could. It was terrifying. Was lucky in the sense that I had a support system. I had my mom, I had my stepdad, I had people helping me, working full-time, going to school full-time, so they would help with Jared. Not everybody has that kind of support system, and I recognize that. But I also feel like when there's a will, there's a way. If you have a big enough motivator, you can make it happen. And looking back, I think I mentioned this in my other interview. I've tried to start my master's program a few times, and I can't. I'm not motivated enough. Back then, I had that motivation and I had the will. Looking back, I don't know how I did it. I was working full time, going to school full time, and being a single mother. And now I have my husband, my kids, like, he's 13, he's self sufficient. I work full time, but my job's really not like I could do my schoolwork at work. I cannot go to school right now. So I just feel like when there's a will, there's a way. You'll figure it out.
Exactly, and everything happens in divine timing. So if you're not ready to go to school right now, there's a big reason for that. And
Right.
that's why I didn't finish my bachelor's. I was 30 credits away from finishing my bachelor's. And I just had this nagging feeling that that was about the time at the end of my marriage, that it something, this ain't gonna work because Jesse's not gonna do
Mm-hmm.
this no more. And I was like, you know what? And I failed my first class, and it made me really sad because when I was doing, everybody who's ever looked at my schooling, I got on the president's list. I've got a 4.0,
Yep.
many different, not just one time, a few times. I've had my name in the little
Yep.
letter. And for me, it
Mm-hmm.
really took it away from me. I was going through all these narcissistic games. I had my ex bring his 19-year-old homeless daughter from Illinois to come and ruin my life for
Yep.
a second time, that I already let her come in my life a couple years before that, and to be really come over to my house to just disrespect me. And then this
Yeah.
time she came over to literally take away my she's the one who, it's funny how the angels work, because since I wouldn't leave my toxic relationship, I was thinking about it, but it was never happening. And my angels were like, okay, here's, drop this person in. So they dropped in my ex's daughter into the mix. And if you've ever had not a teenager, but an over, the 20-year old
Yeah.
come in, and she had a problem of guys, and she wanted to get all the guys that were like seriously trash and drug users. I don't even know. And she even showed up at my work, my doctor's office, with this trashy guy. I was like, you need to be away from my work. But for her, she could, like, literally came in and made up all these stories, called the cops on me, called CPS, and made up stories that I was selling drugs and taking drugs and doing this stuff to my daughter. And I went through all these games that I had to play. Then I still had to be at a doctor's office. Moral to the story is that I understand you go through this, like, you're not only juggling one thing, you're juggling other things. And then the things that you want to have happen, you can't. And if you're feeling any way like this, know that maybe you should look at your relationship. And if you're with a narcissist, it will never change. I
Yep.
promise it won't. I've met them. I met them. My dad was one. My family members were one. It is a disease. You can't change it. And I want to stress that so much, because you'll save yourself a lot of problems if you
A
just ask
lot.
angels to fly and leave the toxic situation and stop submitting yourself to it, because it's only part of your karmic lesson that you're
Yep.
supposed to learn. And once you learn it, guess what? It dissolves. It's crazy. In 2.5 seconds,
Yep.
you're on a whole
Totally.
nother thing.
And on that note, they will tell you over and over, oh, I'll change, and things get great. Things do change, but it's only for like a week at a time. They don't stay that way. They just change their behavior long enough to keep you around. But just know it will continue to be a cycle. If they can't change for good the first time, get out.
Exactly, because there is no fixing them. Yeah, you're just
And
gonna
it will
cause
change.
yourself a lot. And don't buy into the fear of
Ugh,
what they're going to, because that was the thing, is the
mine too.
fear
Yep.
is, because you get threatened many different
Yep.
ways of what's going to happen to you if you leave your narcissist.
Yep.
And I'm going to tell you that you're going to have to pick a choice. And this was what literally made my choice, is because I told my counselor I would sit there. And because she's like, well, what are you going to do? Because I knew that I was in a bad relationship. And I said, I'm going to keep taking it because I love my daughter and I feel like I screwed up everything else. And I lost my first kid as well, like you did. And very traumatic when I was 16. And so I thought, I'll just sit and deal with it, because I found out that's a trauma response. We just say
Yep.
we're going to deal with it. And what you're doing, you have to ask yourself, am I going to be scared of what he's going to do to me? Or am I going to slowly die in this relationship every day? And then I believe in reincarnation. So
Yep.
my thing is holy shit, I've dealt with enough in this lifetime. There's no way I want to come back and learn this karmic lesson. I don't want to come back and I've been
Right.
reincarnated enough. I get it. My lesson learned.
Yep.
Can we move on to the next chapter, please? I have passed the test.
Yeah, I was in that mind frame too. I was so afraid. He would tell me that if I left, he was going to take Jared and he was going to run away and I'd never see Jared again. He was going to make my life living hell. And so that did actually force me to go back to him, and we tried to work things out. And because I was terrified of losing Jared. Finally, one day, I kind of just called his bluff. And I'm not saying everyone is bluffing. You really have to know what you're dealing with. So be cautious in
Some
situations
people
like
are
that.
violent, and just because you have a
Yeah,
restraining order, it's not going to keep them
right,
away either. But
right.
you are smart. We are smart, and learn. I just learned that, you know what, I can outsmart you and I'll figure it out. But we're saying to be cautious. Don't just be
Right.
oblivious to
Yeah,
that.
don't
They're
be
not going to
oblivious,
hurt you.
but eventually it was just like one of those things that I was like, if he is going to do that, I'll deal with it when it comes. But I finally was just like, I have to do what's best for me and Jared. And truthfully, he never really did a whole lot after that. And again, not everyone's like that. So just make sure that if you do that you have, a support system in place and know what you're getting into. So
or make sure that you believe in yourself, because when I left, I had to pull the trigger, and mine took a year. So many things happened in that year that were all the game of what I had to go through. I got kicked out of my house at one point. I had to go stay at the Salvation Army for a week with some homeless people. It was good times. And but you know what? Mind you, I was going to work this whole time. So nobody at work, all these mean people that I was working with, had no idea. They just thought it was fun to pick on me. So at some point I did snap, and he did tell me he was going to take everything away. And he did. He lived up to his promises. He came and got my career. He told me he was going to take my career and everything I built. Well, he did. He took all my stuff. But you know what? Looking back at it now, and I've had about 4 years since it's happened, I've let the resentment go, because anything that he took, I obviously didn't need.
Yep.
And thank you. And I like to say thank you, because it's really hard. We're like so caught up in our emotions of it. But when you look at it, I didn't need all that crap that was attached to you anyways. So thanks for doing me a favor, and I didn't have to go get a U-Haul to move all my stuff out. You
Yep.
saved me some money. Thank you.
Yep. And me and Jared were the same way. We left with the clothes on our back and a car seat, and I've built what I had up until I met David by myself. David and I have built a wonderful life together. So,
And that's awesome because that gives you hope. Because when
yep.
you're in it, you don't think that there's hope, and you just think, damn, I'm doomed to live a life of nonsense and chaos, and it gets lonely. And I just want to let you guys know that you're really not alone out there, and please don't ever feel that no matter what you've done in life, nobody's done anything that bad unless you're like a psychopath killer. Nobody's done anything in life that bad to just constantly get abused every day, and verbal abuse is just as bad as I sometimes I really wish some people would have just hit me instead of hit me
I
with those
agree with
words,
that.
because
Yep.
they stay in your mind. So
Yep.
what does your journey look like now, taking back your power from the toxic shadows and its inhabitants?
Gosh, I wish I could. I wish you guys could see what I've seen, and I wish you could see my life back then and my life now. Like, a lot of people that know me now would never know what I've been through, and probably would be surprised about the extent. I talk about my husband now. We're part of a group called the 501st, a worldwide Star Wars costuming group, and we get dressed up in costume and we go visit children's hospitals and do cancer walks and do fundraising events and do birthday parties. And
That's where the Tinkerbell is, the Tinkerbell
so
picture.
the Tinkerbell was something a little bit different. But what the group that I'm referring to is strictly Star Wars, but we are also into cosplaying and dressing up in other costumes, and we try really hard to spread positivity as much as we can. Especially, most of the events we do are children based, especially like the children's hospitals. We'll go into the not now that COVID is happening, but in normal life, we go to a children's hospital and we go visit rooms. If we can have a kid forget their life even for 5 minutes, I feel like we did our job. And a lot of the times I'm really glad I'm in a helmet because I cry a lot. But
That floor is really sad. My daughter had to go into the hospital one time because she had an allergic reaction to penicillin. It's so hard. It's almost like being on the cancer floor. It's just really like, wow,
yep, it
your
is.
heart goes out.
It really does, and it makes me appreciate what I have. But that's what the 501st is all about. We it's called Bad Guys Doing Good. We try really hard to just put a smile on a face as much as we can, and we really enjoy doing it. And that's just like a little sliver of my life now. Dave has told me numerous times that I can go back to school when I'm ready. He does not hold me back in job promotions or anything like that. Like, he is fully supporting in anything that I do. And like I keep saying, like, we've built a really, really great life together. And just know that, I mean, at one point after my divorce, even though I knew it was the right thing to do, it was still really hard to go through. I got really depressed, and I'm not a depressed person at all. And you met me like right in the middle of all of that, so you've kind
Yeah.
of
Those were
seen the
fun
full
times.
circle. Yeah, no kidding. No, it is possible to flip the script a little bit, and you just have to have the right person there in your corner.
I feel like opinions are like everybody's got one.
Yep.
And
Totally.
I kind of feel like that today because I find it funny that I keep hearing people's opinions about me and about my stuff, but then I look over and I'm like, huh, what do
Mm-hmm.
you got going so well in your life? And it's just funny. I'm learning though, as I've grown on this spiritual journey, that I'm letting people expand in their own space. So I'm learning how to give people time to get that light bulb to go,
Yeah,
okay,
it's
wait
hard.
for it.
Yep. And it is. It's hard. There's so many factors that go into so many of it. I mean, like, you have to know that you're in the wrong place and that you need to get into the right place and get your resources in order and do it.
That is very true. Do you guys do any events online or anything for your Star Wars?
We have now with COVID happening and we're not really allowed to be in any building with other people. We did a virtual birthday party. Like it was basically like a Zoom meet and we were all in costume. We've recorded videos and sent them to people. So we're learning, we're trying to get with the times and trying to figure out how to do it remotely. It's not as fun, I miss the high fives and the, oh my gosh, you got to do what you got to do. So
Do you have a website that anybody can go to if they want to follow you?
yeah, the website is 501st.com. You go to the website and there's like a little area that said request an appearance, I think is what it is. Again, it's worldwide. So anywhere you're at, there are Star Wars people in your area. You can request an appearance and then it's based on the area, so you can pick by state, by country. You go on and you pick the area that you're in and kind of describe what you want, and then it goes basically to our forums, so anyone that's a member of that organization can go on and sign up for the events that they want to do. So if you live in Delaware, you can request the Delaware, if they're called garrisons, so you request the people around you. If you live in, I don't know, some remote country in England, like they probably have one around there too. So
It's really cool for people to know, because people don't know that, caught up in what we're doing every day, that we forget that other people are like, that's so cool.
yeah,
And we're
and
like, yeah, it's just part of another day.
right, and it's so funny because we did, obviously, like we've only been part of this group for about 2 years, and so our first time seeing that group, I felt like a kid in a candy shop. I was like, oh my God, they're stormtroopers. Like, and even people that aren't even big Star Wars fans, you get Chewbacca standing in front of you, and pretty much anyone will like fangirl. So it's
Yes.
good to know, like, there are resources out there. Specifically, Star Wars is 501st.com, and yes, you can request an appearance, and hopefully we can do it in person soon.
Thank you so much for being here today and sharing your story, because me and you have a lot of similarities
We
in
do.
with our stories, and
Uh,
I know how hard it is to come talk about this, and I think fear kept me out of talking to it for so long.
yep.
But you know what? At some point, my guy that I'm with now, who got delivered after, actually in the middle of all the chaos, I met him.
Oh,
Now we've kind of grown. I met him in the middle, like 6 months into my divorce, and then I met him, and we've kind of grown into not caught up in all that mess now, and now I'm setting up my life. So
important. It really is just knowing that you're in the wrong spot, wanting to get to a different place, and really just lining up your resources. So making sure you have a support system, somewhere to stay, something like that, and have people help you be accountable, because they
yeah,
will keep their nails in you and keep that cycle going as long as you'll let it. Once you get the mindset that things need to change, have people there to help you change it.
exactly. And you can live whatever life you want to be. If you want to be Tinkerbell, and I think that's why I wanted your Tinkerbell, because I always tell
Yeah,
people I'm Tinkerbell and I don't live in your world. And when you tell me I
right.
can't, even before I learned how to manifest stuff, when you tell me I can't, those are words that are going to make me say, well, I can.
Watch
And if
me.
you tell me if you tell me I can't be a truck driver and haul a 18-wheeler, guess who's gonna go get their
Yep.
CDL next week? Because
Yep.
you just challenged me.
Yep. Totally. Totally. Totally.
You can totally be whatever you want, and Christina is a very good example that we all have choices, and
Yep.
you can choose to live in the toxic shadows and be part
Yep.
of its inhabitants, or you can choose to rise above it like a
Yep.
phoenix rising above the ashes and
Yep.
become what you want in life.
And I will throw it out there that I will be an advocate for anybody if anyone needs to talk or reach out. I have Facebook. I'm under Christina Miranda on Facebook. My profile picture is pretty hard to miss. It looks just like this. And on Instagram, I think I have my Instagram posted in my Facebook, but I'm Hailstorm N5, HALESTORMN5. So anyone can reach out. I will be there to talk people through it, or if you just need an ear to vent, I'll be there for you, because I've been in that situation.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Christina. It's very
Of course.
important. And know that you're not alone. We're all in this together. So
Yep.
make sure you stay safe, because I know you're out there firsthand on the line of being in the medical office right now.
Yep.
And hopefully we'll get through this sooner than later. There you have it, beautiful souls. Another powerful guest that has learned to survive their swim in the toxic waters and break up with their toxic dance partner, fear. If you need help trying to find a new dance partner, please reach out to myself or Christina from the show today, and let us show you how a 4-letter word can change your mindset permanently. And that 4-letter word is love. With love, all things are possible. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Dancing in the Toxic Shadows. Until we meet again, this is Jess, Intuitive Angel Healer, sending healing angel vibes. Love and light, everybody. Take care.